Mansa Musa as a young boy around 10 years old, with sharp, inquisitive eyes, a slim build, and short hair. He wears simple yet royal attire, a white tunic with a deep blue sash across his chest. In the background, the ancient city of Niani glimmers under the setting sun, with grand palaces and busy marketplaces. Mansa Musa, now in his early 20s, stands at the right hand of King Sundiata, in the midst of a lavish palace. His face is calm yet focused, his regal attire gold-embroidered robes and a crown reflecting his growing influence. His posture is upright and confident. Around them, nobles are whispering about the young man's rising power. A grand coronation scene with Mansa Musa, now around 30, standing on a high platform, crowned as King of Mali. His facial features are more mature, with a strong jawline and deep, soulful eyes. He wears a golden crown encrusted with jewels and a long flowing robe of deep red and gold. Surrounding him are nobles and commoners, bowing in awe. The backdrop is a majestic palace, its walls adorned with intricate carvings of Malian culture, with the sun casting a radiant glow over the entire empire. Mansa Musa, now in his mid-30s, standing in front of a grand mosque in Timbuktu, his vision coming to life. His regal facial features are framed by a golden turban, and his outfit is a royal blue robe with golden embroidery. Around him, scholars are debating while students gather to learn. He raises his hand toward the horizon, symbolizing his desire to turn Mali into a center of knowledge and culture, while caravans loaded goods travel in the distance. Mansa Musa, adorned in a gold and white silk robe, his facial features serene and contemplative, is kneeling in prayer within a grand mosque. He is surrounded by advisors and scholars preparing for his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca. In the foreground, camels and attendants are being prepared for the journey, while the mosque's minarets tower in the background. Mansa Musa, now about 40, is shown overseeing the massive preparations for his pilgrimage. His facial expression is calm but determined. His luxurious robes of deep green and gold are embroidered with sacred Islamic symbols. Surrounding him are craftsmen creating fine gifts, golden goblets, intricately woven silks. Behind him, thousands of camels are loaded with gold, silk, and spices stretching far into the horizon. The scene is bustling with energy, but Musa stands in the center, calm and commanding. The departure from Niani. Mansa Musa, now a mature and confident king, rides at the front of a vast caravan, mounted on a majestic black horse adorned in golden armor. His golden robe catches the morning sunlight as thousands of attendants, camels, and traders follow behind him. The city of Niani, with its bustling streets and towering buildings, watches in awe as the king sets off for Mecca. The road ahead shimmers with anticipation. The Sahara Desert stretches endlessly, with Mansa Musa and his enormous caravan of camels cutting across the harsh landscape. Mansa Musa, atop a camel draped in golden fabric, wears a white turban and desert gear, his face now weathered from the journey but resolute. His entourage includes scholars, soldiers, and servants, all navigating through the unforgiving desert terrain. In the sky, stars begin to twinkle as night falls, while the caravan continues its journey under a crescent moon. The oasis of Walata is a green gem amidst the vast desert. Mansa Musa, now with the beginning of a beard, stands near a palm tree, his royal blue and gold robe shining against the lush surroundings. He holds a patch of gold coins in one hand, generously distributing them to the awe-struck locals. Behind him, camels drink from the clear waters, and his caravan rests under the shade. Mansa Musa's grand entrance into Cairo is a spectacle to behold. He rides a majestic white horse with gold-plated armor, his face a mask of regal humility, framed by a gold-encrusted turban. Around him, the bustling city streets of Cairo are lined with onlookers, their mouths agape at the wealth on display, thousands of golden coins being handed out, camels carrying silk, spices, and more gold than anyone had ever seen. In the Sultan of Cairo's palace, Mansa Musa kneels gracefully before the Sultan, offering gifts of gold and fine textiles. He wears his signature attire, a flowing red and gold robe with delicate embroidery. His face is calm, with a soft smile of humility, as he gestures toward the gifts with one hand. The Sultan, sitting on a jeweled throne, looks astonished at the treasures. A bustling market in Cairo with vendors selling exotic goods and gold glittering in every corner. Mansa Musa, now with more defined features, sharp eyes, and a broad forehead, walks through the market with his attendants, handing out golden coins to the people. Mansa Musa wears a simple white robe with a gold trim belt, reflecting his humility despite the wealth surrounding him. Mansa Musa and the Sultan of Cairo stand side by side, overlooking a grand hall filled with scholars, merchants, and diplomats. Mansa Musa, now looking more diplomatic and composed, wears a white and gold robe. His eyes are focused as he listens to the Sultan, his hand resting on a golden staff. Around them, ambassadors from distant lands present gifts, and agreements are being signed. Mansa Musa, dressed in a simple yet elegant pilgrim's robe, leads his caravan through the rocky terrain of Arabia. His beard is fuller, his face more weathered from the journey, but his eyes remain sharp and focused. Bedouin tribes greet him with respect, while Musa offers gifts of silk and gold. The desert landscape is dotted with small camps, and the camels, adorned with golden saddles, continue their steady march toward Mecca under a bright blue sky. In Mecca, Mansa Musa kneels before the Kaaba, tears in his eyes as he completes his pilgrimage. His royal gold and white attire is stripped back to a humble pilgrim's garb, showing his deep piety. Around him, other pilgrims whisper in awe of the wealthy king who traveled so far to show his devotion. The sacred Kaaba looms in the background, shining under the midday sun as the faithful continue their prayers around it. Mansa Musa, seated cross-legged on the floor of a grand library in Mecca, is deep in conversation with scholars from around the world. His features are soft yet inquisitive, his clothing now simple, a white robe with gold accents. The scholars around him, dressed in a variety of traditional robes, discuss philosophy and governance, while shelves upon shelves of ancient manuscripts surround them. The caravan grows even larger as it heads back toward Mali, now accompanied by scholars, architects, and artisans. Mansa Musa, sitting atop a camel adorned with golden bells, smiles warmly. His face is fuller, more serene, as the sun sets behind him, casting long shadows across the desert. Behind him, the caravan has become a moving city of knowledge and wealth, with scholars discussing astronomy and architects planning grand projects. Timbuktu begins to take shape as Mansa Musa stands before the unfinished walls of the new university. His face, now more lined with age but filled with determination, shows pride as he watches workers construct the grand building. Around him, camels carry manuscripts, and the sounds of hammers and chisels fill the air. Mansa Musa, in his mid-40s, stands in front of the Jingareba Mosque, his beard neatly trimmed, his gold and red robe flowing in the breeze. The mosque is a marvel of architecture, its mud brick walls towering over the city. Sahili, the architect, is at Mansa Musa's side, discussing the design. Musa's face reflects a mix of pride and reverence, knowing that this mosque will stand for centuries as a symbol of Mali's spiritual and cultural achievements. The bustling streets of Timbuktu are alive with scholars and traders. As Mansa Musa walks through, now wearing a more modest white robe, his facial features still strong but softened by years of wisdom. His eyes scan the streets filled with merchants trading gold, silk, and spices, while students in brightly colored robes gather at the city's libraries. Timbuktu shines as the city of gold, with towering minarets in the background and the spirit of knowledge filling the air. Mansa Musa, standing in a grand mosque, observes a group of young scholars reciting the Quran. His expression is warm, his eyes filled with pride. His clothing is rich with cultural patterns of Mali, blending with Islamic symbols. Around him, imams teach the new generation of Mali's future leaders. Behind him, the mosque's towering minarets cast shadows over the desert. Mansa Musa, standing before a massive map of the Mali Empire, points to different regions as his governors listen attentively. His strong face is marked by years of leadership, his attire simple but elegant blue and gold robe. Surrounding him are officials in various colorful robes, holding scrolls of administrative orders. The map stretches across the floor, depicting rivers, mountains, and trade routes, symbolizing the vastness of the empire. The Niger River glistens under the sun as Mansa Musa sails on a large, elaborately decorated boat, his features serene, his rich purple robe embroidered with symbols of prosperity. Along the riverbanks, farmers tend to their crops and fishermen cast their nets. Mansa Musa stands at the bow of the ship, looking over the water with a deep sense of satisfaction as the lifeblood of the empire flows steadily through the heart of Mali. A utopian court scene where explorers and traders, wide-eyed, hold up a map of Africa with Mali marked as the kingdom of gold. Mansa Musa's image is depicted in their minds as a figure adorned with jewels, gold, and wealth beyond imagination. Though not present, the legend of Mansa Musa has reached distant lands, sparking ambition and curiosity in these distant courts. A grand Malian marketplace bustling with activity, golden goods stacked high on tables, silk banners flowing in the breeze. Mansa Musa stands in the center, now with a few grey strands in his beard, observing the prosperity of his people. His royal robes shimmer in the sun, his staff of gold resting at his side. Around him, citizens trade everything from exotic spices to rare gems, the city alive with wealth and happiness, a testament to Mansa Musa's wise reign. A grand meeting between Mansa Musa and the most powerful merchant families of Mali. Mansa Musa, now slightly older, with deep-set eyes and a gentle smile, wears a golden turban and a royal blue robe embroidered with intricate patterns. The merchants, dressed in rich silks, discuss trade routes and wealth, while gold coins and precious gems glitter on the table before them. The room is adorned with tapestries representing the vast trade network of the Mali Empire. Mansa Musa, standing on the high walls of Gao, overseeing its bustling markets and grand mosques. His attire is a rich golden robe with silver trimmings, and his face is thoughtful yet proud. In the background, traders from across Africa and the Middle East barter and exchange goods. Mansa Musa on the battlefield, though not in armor, directing his soldiers with wisdom and authority. His face is calm but focused, his posture regal in a white and red robe. His army, equipped with golden shields and spears, stands ready behind him. Across the vast plains, new territories await Mali's influence. In the distance, the mountains shimmer with hidden ridges. Mansa Musa sits in the shade of a grand palace, surrounded by his daughters and the influential women of the empire. His face is warm and relaxed, his attire a light blue robe with intricate gold stitching. The women wear elegant robes of vibrant colors, and they engage in discussions about trade and governance. In the background, children play near a fountain, and the gardens of the palace bloom with tropical flowers. A dense forest scene where Mansa Musa meets the rulers of the forest kingdoms. The forest kings, wearing elaborate headdresses of feathers and beads, sit in a circle with Mansa Musa discussing trade and diplomacy. Around them, exotic animals roam, and the lush green of the forest contrasts with the golden goods that Mansa Musa offers a sign of friendship. A scene inside one of Mali's grandest mosques, where Mansa Musa, in a white robe with gold trim, listens as an imam delivers a sermon. His face is calm, eyes closed in meditation, while worshippers fill the space behind him. The mosque is illuminated by soft light streaming through intricate windows, casting sacred patterns on the stone floor. In a grand hall, Mansa Musa hosts diplomats from across the Islamic world, his face relaxed but commanding, his attire a mix of Mali's vibrant colors and Islamic elegance. Maps of the known world cover the tables as discussions about trade routes, alliances, and culture fill the air. The hall is decorated with Mali's gold and North African tapestries, representing the blending of cultures. Mansa Musa, now older with streaks of silver in his beard, stands atop a high tower in Timbuktu, looking over the sprawling city with a soft, proud smile. His royal blue and gold robe catches the wind as the sun sets, casting a golden glow over the city. Below him, caravans arrive with goods from distant lands, and the people of Timbuktu move through the streets, their lives enriched by Mansa Musa's pilgrimage and wisdom. The Grand Library of the University of Sanko in Timbuktu, where Mansa Musa, seated on a golden throne, watches as students read from ancient manuscripts. His face reflects satisfaction and pride as scholars from all corners of the world gather to exchange knowledge. The library's walls are lined with thousands of scrolls and books, the vast wealth of Mali's intellectual achievements. Mansa Musa, standing in the middle of a newly constructed road that stretches far into the horizon, surrounded by bustling traders and workers. His face is stern but satisfied, wearing a modest but elegant brown and gold robe. Around him, caravans laden with gold, salt, and silk move toward the distant cities. The roads, smooth and wide, are symbols of progress and connectivity within the empire. Mansa Musa, now in his late 50s, sits on a golden throne, surrounded by courtiers and guests from across Africa. His attire is a royal green robe adorned with golden embroidery, his face lit with joy as he watches the vibrant performances. The air is filled with the sounds of drums and stringed instruments, while artists paint grand murals. In a dimly lit hall, a group of griots stand before Mansa Musa, reciting the oral history of the Mali Empire. Mansa Musa listens intently, his face deeply contemplative, dressed in a simple robe of white silk, a stark contrast to his usual grandeur. The griots' words seem to come alive, and behind them, shadows of ancient kings and battles dance on the walls. A family gathering where Mansa Musa sits with his children and grandchildren under the shade of a grand tree in a palace courtyard. His face is softer, aged with wisdom, and he wears a royal blue robe with silver accents. His children, dressed in royal attire, discuss the future of Mali, while the younger children play at his feet. A royal chamber where Mansa Musa receives envoys from distant lands who present gifts of rare gems and silks. Mansa Musa, now visibly older but still commanding respect, wears a luxurious gold and white robe. His face is calm, his eyes filled with wisdom. Around him, his advisors and generals stand ready to protect the empire's wealth. In a vast agricultural field along the Niger River, Mansa Musa, now in his 60s, walks among farmers harvesting rice and millet. His features are worn, but his presence is commanding. He wears a simple farmer's robe, blending with the people, while holding a wooden staff. In the background, irrigation canals flow through the fields, and the sun shines brightly overhead. In a grand court, Mansa Musa presides over a trial, where judges and legal scholars discuss cases of justice. His face is firm but fair, his white and gold robe reflecting the light of justice. Around him, courtiers watch intently as Mansa Musa listens to arguments with a thoughtful expression. Scrolls of laws are spread across the marble floors. Mansa Musa stands beside the statue of Sundiata Keita in the grand capital of Niani, his face solemn and reflective. Dressed in regal red and gold, Mansa Musa bows his head in respect to the founder of the Mali Empire. Behind him, a lush garden filled with vibrant flowers blooms, symbolizing the legacy that Sundiata built and that Mansa Musa expanded. A meeting between Mansa Musa and the rulers of North Africa, where trade and diplomatic relations are discussed. Mansa Musa, older but still sharp and focused, wears a white robe with intricate golden designs. The rulers, seated in a grand hall adorned with Moroccan lanterns, present gifts of spices and gold. The atmosphere is one of mutual respect and opportunity, with Mali's gold flowing into the Maghreb and North African goods enriching Mali. A vast, empty market in North Africa, affected by the Black Death. Mansa Musa stands with his advisors, his face somber as he surveys the closed stalls and empty streets. His attire is simple, reflecting the somber occasion, while a veil of dust rises in the background. The golden goods once traded here remain untouched. Mansa Musa's hands rest on his golden staff as he contemplates the future, planning Mali's resilience in the face of global turmoil. Inside a grand courtroom, Mansa Musa sits on a throne of gold, but his expression is thoughtful and solemn as he listens to a legal scholar. His face shows wisdom and care for his people, his royal robe a deep shade of purple with golden accents. Around him, judges and advisors debate matters of justice. Mansa Musa, now in his later years, visits the grave of Essayi, the architect who transformed Mali's cities. His face is marked by age and loss, but his posture is dignified. He wears a white robe with gold trim, carrying a staff in one hand. Around him, workers and scholars gather in remembrance, while the Grand Mosque Sahid built looms in the background, a lasting tribute to his genius. The air is heavy with reflection and respect for a life well lived. Mansa Musa's grandsons, dressed in regal blue and gold robes, gather around a large table covered in ancient manuscripts and maps. Mansa Musa, now frail but still sharp-eyed, watches them with pride. Behind them, the library of Sanko rises tall, filled with scholars and students. The scene is filled with a sense of continuity and hope for the future of Mali. Mansa Musa, now in his final years, sits in his prayer room, his face peaceful, his hands clasped in reflection. Dressed in a white robe, he kneels on a golden rug, the soft light from a window illuminating his features. Around him are sacred manuscripts, and behind him, the city of Niani is bathed in the glow of a setting sun. The atmosphere is quiet and serene as Mansa Musa contemplates his journey and the legacy he will leave behind. A grand funeral procession for Mansa Musa, where thousands of mourners gather in the golden streets of Niani. Mansa Musa's body, dressed in a royal gold and white robe, is carried on a golden litter surrounded by flowers and incense. The air is filled with the sound of drums and the chanting of griots recounting his legendary life. Maganai, dressed in royal robes of deep blue and gold, stands in the grand hall of Niani, his face serious yet determined. Advisors and generals gather around him as he addresses the challenges of maintaining his father's empire. The room is filled with tension as maps of Mali's vast territories are spread before them. A battlefield near the borders of Mali, where Maganai's soldiers clash with the forces of Sonny Ali of Songhai. Magan, now slightly older with sharper features, stands on a hill in a red and gold robe, watching the battle unfold. His expression is one of concern and resolve. Behind him, the flag of Mali waves in the wind, while the distant sounds of war fill the air. The once bustling streets of Timbuktu are quieter now, as traders move fewer goods through its once thriving markets. Mansa Musa's image, carved in a golden statue, stands in the center of the city, but the vibrancy of the past has faded. Magan Ai, wearing a simple white robe, walks through the streets, his face filled with concern for the city's decline. The Grand Mosque still stands tall, but the air is heavy with the loss of Timbuktu's former glory. A map of the Mali Empire, torn at the edges with regions breaking away into smaller kingdoms. Mansa Musa's legacy is symbolized by a golden crown that sits at the top of the map, but cracks run through the once unified empire. Magai, standing in the center of a grand chamber, surrounded by nobles, listens to their disputes over territory. Sonny Ali, dressed in the battle armor of Songhai, stands triumphantly on the walls of Jib, overlooking the newly conquered city. The grand flag of Songhai waves in the wind, while Mansa Musa's once proud banner lies in the dust. The scene is one of conquest and victory, with Sonny Ali's soldiers celebrating in the streets below. The Mali Empire, once the jewel of West Africa, is now reduced to fragmented regions, its power waning. A vast landscape of broken palaces and empty marketplaces stretches across the horizon. In the center of the scene, Mansa Musa's golden throne sits abandoned, a symbol of the empire's former glory. The air is thick with the sense of loss and the end of an era, as Mali's once great cities fade into history. A peaceful library in Timbuktu, where scholars study ancient manuscripts by candlelight. The image of Mansa Musa is carved into the walls, watching over the intellectual legacy he built. The scholars, dressed in simple robes, work quietly, preserving the knowledge of the Mali Empire. In a grand storytelling circle, griots perform the epic tales of Mansa Musa's life, their words coming alive with magical realism. The griots, wearing traditional Malian robes, sing of Musa's pilgrimage, his legendary generosity, and his wisdom. Behind them, the shadowy figures of Mansa Musa and his golden caravan move across the desert sky, blending reality with myth. The atmosphere is serene, with students from distant lands working together, discussing astronomy, mathematics, and law. Above the entrance to the university, a statue of Mansa Musa watches over them, his face wise and gentle, ensuring that his legacy of knowledge, culture, and prosperity will endure for centuries to come.